everyone, Colleen Patrick-Goudreau, vegan author and animal advocate, here to just offer some thoughts and suggestions about vegans and vegetarians and non-vegans dining together. In general, certainly these tips are appropriate for any time of the year, but especially around Thanksgiving and the holidays. Holidays and occasions that revolve around food can be stressful, to say the least, for vegetarians and vegans, especially with family members who we have a history with, we have expectations of, they have expectations of us, and navigating these tricky waters can sometimes cause waves in an otherwise calm sea. So as we go through the transition of going from non-vegetarian to vegetarian or vegan, we are incredibly excited, most of us who go through this do it because we really want to, and we are excited to see the world through a different lens. And at the same time, we're devastated to recognize the dauntingly huge scale of meat, dairy, and egg consumption in our society. It's a painful awareness for those of us who know the suffering animals endure. And of course, you can never look upon a piece of meat or cheese the same ever again. But we have to remember that although we've had this experience, we've experienced our own transformation, we've spent the time thinking about these things and investigating these things, not everyone around us necessarily has. Even though we may feel completely changed, we can't forget to look at how our changes affect those around us, especially our family members, especially our parents. No matter how old we are, most likely they've been cooking the same thing for us night after night, year after year, holiday after holiday. They've gone through our picky phases. They've cut the crusts off our bread. They've slaved over our favorite holiday roast or any other meat or dairy or egg-based concoction. And now we tell them that all of that has changed and we're vegetarian or we're vegan. On a very practical level, their less than enthusiastic reaction may be due to the fact that they really have no idea what to feed you because there are so many misconceptions about just what vegans eat in general. So one of the things you can do is provide them with recipes. You can help them create a menu. You can offer to cook with them. You can offer to cook for them. And all the while, let them have their reaction. Let them have time to process it, just as you had time to process your whole transformation. I think the reasons that parents take our transition to veganism so personally is because food is so emotional, first of all, for all of us, but it's used from the day we're born for them, by our parents, to express their affection for us, to express their love for us, to nurture us, literally to feed us in the case of our mothers. When we reject the things they've fed us, they may feel like we're rejecting them. Holiday meals are an opportunity to demonstrate that we're not rejecting their traditions or their values, but rather we're embracing our own values and our own traditions. It's so important to emphasize that it has nothing to do with them. It's also a wonderful opportunity to show them that nothing need be sacrificed, not a beautiful centerpiece, not a filling meal with all the traditional fixings, and not the true meaning of the gathering. Some things we can all do to make holiday meals a little easier is, number one, we can offer to host the holiday dinner. Obviously, it puts more work on us, but that's one option we have. We can offer to make the main dish and bring it to the person hosting. We can offer to make an alternative main dish, but making sure we communicate with the person hosting the event, first of all. We can ask them to easily veganize some of the standards using earth balance or non-dairy butter instead of dairy-based butter, using non-dairy milk or plant-based milks instead of cow's milk or other animal milk, using vegetable broth instead of animal-based broth. Really simple switches that they can make and you can guide them through. You can tell them that one thing that might make it easier if you're at their house and you're at this gathering is if the turkey body carcass wasn't displayed right on the table. Perhaps people can get served it from the kitchen, the turkey itself, and then have all the other fixings on the table. It's a small concession to ask for, but it really makes a huge difference so you don't have to sit there and stare at that. And it might make it comfortable enough for you to be there and celebrate with your family. Another option is you don't have to go. You don't have to go to Thanksgiving at your family's. Now, we have to weigh the consequences of our decision when we make a decision like that, but that is an option. You do have the agency to make that decision. Set the bar high. Time and again, I've heard from people who panic around the holidays because they think their families won't understand. They think they'll have nothing to eat. And if that's our expectation, then that will be our experience. But time and again, I see the opposite take place. When we stand up for what we believe in, with grace and humility, incredible things take place when we raise the bar a little bit. Now, that doesn't mean we let people off the hook if they're being ungracious or rude or unkind, but it does mean that we don't get to be rude or ungracious or unkind either. It's up to us to ask for what we want without placing blame or judgment, and without pointing the finger and demanding that the other person understand or change or take responsibility for our needs. Around the holidays and every day, we need to be clear about what our needs are and be flexible and accommodating. I don't think we should expect family and friends to know what vegan means. A lot of people don't even know what it means. And I just think we can't expect them to bend over backwards to accommodate us without any help from us. So there's a lot that we can do to participate in making this better. Whereas I think we underestimate our family and friends when it comes to this issue, I also think we expect too much of them, in that we sometimes expect them to read our minds. Sometimes we expect them to anticipate our needs, to know exactly what it is that we need. Instead, I think we can talk to our family members, tell them how difficult a day this is for us. I think a lot of people suffer in silence on this day and suffer in judgment rather than having a heart-to-heart with our family members who may not really even understand why it's so emotional for us. What they kind of need to hear is that our choice has nothing to do with them, that our compassion is kind of their fault if they raised us to be conscious, compassionate people, that we can blame them for being vegan because they made us thinking, feeling, compassionate people, but that our being vegan is not a judgment of them. It's a reflection of our own compassion. And wanting to avoid a turkey carcass at Thanksgiving is really just about trying to avoid the viscerally painful reminder of the suffering that millions and millions of animals are enduring every moment. They may have never heard it expressed in a way that they can really understand it. They just don't want to feel like they're a bad person. Nobody wants to feel like they're a bad person. That's why we couch our habits in romantic terms. And that's the other side of this experience between a vegetarian or vegan and a non-vegetarian or non-vegan. I believe that we're all mirrors to one another and that we reflect back to each other all the time. We do this all the time. We reflect back to each other things that we recognize in our own selves. Sometimes we're happy with that reflection, sometimes not so much. I talk often about the phenomenon of being the vegan in the room. Just by being there, it's upsetting to the safe foundation carved out by the non-vegetarian who doesn't want to confront what it is we're all trying to avoid: cruelty to animals, especially around the holidays when meat and animal products are the center of the meal. The vegan doesn't have to say anything or do anything just by virtue of being that presence, It's upsetting for those who see reflected back to them, perhaps their own limitations, perhaps their own lack of consciousness, perhaps their own guilt. And to deflect that guilt, the non-vegetarian, the non-vegan sometimes acts defensively. They may make snide comments. They may make jokes or quips. They may make the vegan feel small and insignificant. They may accuse them of breaking a sacred tradition, right? I mean, all of these things, these are all ways that we can feel better about what we're doing. But what the vegan can realize at that very moment is, ungracious though that may be, even that has nothing to do with us as vegans. It's just the non-vegan just working out their own discomfort. I believe that in all relationships, we have the opportunity at every moment to be the people we want to be. People who have the most to teach us are often the ones who reflect back to us our own limits. So as much as the non-vegan, the meat eaters, the non-vegetarian may see a mirror when they encounter a vegan and choose to accept or reject what comes up for them, so too do we. Those of us, for whatever reason, and stopped eating animals, need to look at the mirror that's held up for us when we look at a meat eater. We're not immune to this either. What comes up for us? Is it impatience? Is it judgment? Is it self-righteousness? Is it arrogance? Is it fear? We can examine our own reactions as well, because that's really all we can do, is examine our own and change ourselves. And every moment we have the opportunity to reflect our values, and our truth, if our ethics dictate that we perpetuate the suffering of other beings on an unprecedented scale, then we're doing just fine. We're doing just that. But I don't think that's what we really want. I don't think that's who we really are, to participate in violence against animals just because we can, just because we always have, is to forget who we are. And I don't know anything more painful or traumatic than not knowing who we are or what we believe in. My hope for all of us is that we will come to see that we need not cause any suffering to ourselves or to any other being for any reason, even tradition. So as we prepare our Feast of Seasonal Fare, may we recognize that we can celebrate tradition while honoring our values of kindness and compassion, and may we rejoice in the plenty we have without causing harm to another. And so have a wonderful holiday with your friends, with your family members. Bring to the table the compassion and the kindness that is so full in you for the animals. Bring that same compassion and that same kindness and that same warmth and desire for nurturance and protection. Bring that to the table wherever you go. Happy Thanksgiving. Be well. For the animals, this is Colleen Patrick-Goudreau. Thank you for watching, and please share this video, and of course you can find lots more